Hello everyone, and welcome to a video on the Constructive Criticism YouTube channel. I'm Spencer, host of Constructive Criticism and Limited Time Only, two podcasts about getting better at Magic the Gathering. It's Wednesday Night Warrior again. This is my weekly video series where I get to talk about whatever I want, which is pretty fun for me. I do two podcasts that have very strict guidelines on what we get to talk about, and in this series I just talk about Magic stuff, and it's really fun for me. And one of the most often questions I get asked is, even if you're not a pro, how do you get on a testing team with the people in your community that are good at Magic? And it is such an interesting question, because oftentimes they'll say you can ask, or you can build your own team. You can build your own team of people that are surround yourself with, and get better at Magic together. And so I have a few different topics that there's about 7 of them about building a testing team that I want to talk about. And today we're going to do our first one. So I did a video on surrounding yourself with similar-minded people that's in our How to Improve at Magic series that you can check out here on this YouTube channel. If you just look for the playlist, it should be right there. And I kind of want to expand on that for this first segment of this show and kind of talk about, like, how do you find the right people? And that's the first thing that I think is really important when you're going to either build a testing team or join a testing team, is you want to make sure that it's filled with the right people. And the first step to doing that is to open yourself up to others. This is true in a few ways. One, if you're already on a testing team, it's important to be open to new people joining. And two, if you are not on a testing team, it's going to be really hard to get on one or create one if you don't open yourself up to other people. It's just basically going to be impossible, right? If you don't go talk to those people, they'll never know that you want to be on a testing team. I think it's pretty easy to understand that you just need to be available to the people that you want to playtest with, right? And that means, like, you have to be willing to be a part of their lives in some way, right? Like, you have to be willing to at least walk up to them, and that's something that a lot of people aren't really willing to do. But the thing is if you've been asking me the question, like, can I join your testing team? Even if the answer is no, it means that you have the ability to go do that with other people. So I want to start with the kind of people that you might want to interact with, and that is people who are willing to be wrong. So it is pretty easy to be friends with somebody, and I find, for me, like, I feel like I make friends in a good, easy way now at this point in my life. That wasn't always true of me, but I think it is now. And but one thing that I think is really easy to do is be friends with somebody and get into really fun debates with them, right? Debating's fun for a lot of people, and that's awesome. But in Magic, so at some point, you have to be willing to admit when you're wrong. This is something that I strive to always be working on, because I'm honestly really bad at it sometimes. Sometimes I'll be really stubborn, and I think that surrounding myself with people who are willing to be wrong has made me better at it. I think it's important. I think that if you aren't willing to, like, own up to the fact that you might not be correct in a certain situation, it's going to be really hard for you to get better at the end of the day. And that's all we want, right? We want to get better. That's why we want to surround ourselves with an awesome testing team, is so that we can get better and improve at Magic together. So if they're not willing to admit that they're wrong, then you're not going to have productive conversations. You're not going to have productive threads on Facebook or Slack or however you are distributing information, or Discord, however you're doing it. And because of that, like, it's just going to stifle growth when somebody is putting, their stick in the sand and being like, this is the place. This is it. This is where we're going to be. And if anybody disagrees with me, then we can fight about it. That's not productive conversation. That's not going to help anybody on the team. A really good example of this is for Pro Tour Kaladesh testing. Early on in the testing, Danny and Michael are sitting on a table over to themselves while we're all testing decks. And actually, I have 2 stories on this. And Danny and Michael are, like, over there laughing and giggling, and they're laughing. They're over there laughing and giggling, and I'm like, guys, what are you laughing about? And they're like, oh, this deck is good, but it sure is stupid. And they're sitting there activating Aetherworks Marvel with all of these energy producers and putting Ulamogs into play really early in the game. And they're like, yeah, if you just draw Marvel on turn 4, you win. And I was like, okay, so like, thanks for wasting our time in this playtesting session, guys. And then it kept winning, and we adjusted the numbers, did this and that, and by the end of the playtesting session, I was like, yeah, I was wrong. Like, this deck's powerful. Yeah, let's figure this out, guys. And it would be really easy to just look at an idea and just say, this is bad. Like, we're not spending our time on this, and that's just not the right way to go about approaching playtesting. And I was willing to say I'm wrong. Like, and it happens in the form of prove me wrong, guys. Like, prove me wrong. Like, let's sit down and play some Magic, and if what you're doing is powerful and I can't beat you, yeah, like, you're right and I'm wrong, and I'm willing to admit that I'm wrong. And another situation in Pro Tour Kaladesh testing was, so Danny wanted to play Mono Black Zombies at this Pro Tour. He had just qualified for Kaladesh from Pro Tour Eldritch Moon, and he had played Zombies at the Pro Tour. And he wanted to come in and play Zombies. And so after he got some shellacking in playtesting, because this was before the new Zombies came out, just barely, he got shellacked, and he was like, yeah, I can't play this deck. And that's the kind of wrong you need to be willing to be, right? Even if you really like your deck idea, even if you really like your sideboard plan or a certain pet card, you have to be willing to admit that you surrounded yourself with these people and understand that you surrounded yourself with them for a reason. And if you're not willing to admit when they're right, then I don't know why you surrounded yourself with them to begin with. So it's really important to surround yourself with people who are willing to be wrong, and that needs to be you too. You need to include yourself in that. You also need to be willing to surround yourself with people who will question you. So it's really easy to get inbred testing when nobody's willing to ask the question of why. And one of the things that we really did right in Kaladesh testing is we asked why a lot. I think that Kaladesh was probably our best Pro Tour testing that we've had yet. We ended up on a very interesting version of Marvel for the Pro Tour that was very good. I actually won states with it. It was very good for the tournament, I would say. And it was fun. It was really cool. Casey ended up with a... we didn't think that other people would figure out Marvel, so maybe our testing wasn't that great. But Casey ended up on a Rug Emerge deck, a Teamer Emerge deck, and we just were really able to question each other. There was in Casey's deck building, it was, why this planeswalker? Why do you want planeswalkers? How much removal do you want? Why do you want this removal? Why do you want that removal? What purpose does this serve over this? And if you aren't willing to ask questions of your playtesting partners and of your teammates, then you're not going to get the opportunity to grow and learn in the way that you should. So it's really important to have people that will question your decisions, right? If I present you with a deck list, you should want to ask questions. That's probably the most common thing is that happens in our play group is, oh, why did you pick this card over this card? Why did you pick this sideboard clan? You made this statement about Void Winnower. Why do you like Void Winnower in this mirror match? Like, how does this work? Why do you sideboard this way? If you aren't willing to question your friends, and if they're not willing to give feedback based upon that, then you're not going to improve at the same rate that you could if you were. You also want to have people with different skill sets. Weirdly enough, I like having guys that understand spreadsheets in my playtesting group. I like guys that can just jam lots of games and not get upset when they lose in playtesting. That's a skill that I'm honestly really bad at. I'm really competitive, and I want to win every match of Magic I play. And I oftentimes have to remind myself, hey, Spencer, this is playtesting. Like, it doesn't matter who wins or loses. The end result is that the team gets a better deck, not that you won or lost this match that doesn't matter, right? And that's important. It's actually one of the reasons that I don't like playtesting matches or on MTGO. My teammates all love it. They all love doing competitive leagues for playtesting. I actually find that to be detrimental to me as a playtester because I'm emotionally invested in a different way than I would be if I was not playing competitive leagues. But at the same time, it's good that I have people who like to playtest on MTGO, because it means that they are stacking themselves up against random competition that's never going to be inbred all the time. That's good competition. That's a good thing. I like having that on my playtesting team. The other thing that I think is important is surrounding yourself with people and having the right people on your team that will commit to actually playing Magic. It's really, really easy to say, I want to be on a team of people who are dedicated to getting better at Magic and qualifying for the Pro Tour, or qualifying for an SCG Invitational, or winning PPTQs. It's really easy. You just have to say it, right? You just say it, and then it happens. That's not how it works. You can't just say you want to be on a testing team, and suddenly you're on a testing team. You are saying you are, but what are you doing? How are you communicating? What are the actions that you're taking upon this thing that you've declared? And I think that there's a huge difference between people who will actually commit and people who won't. And honestly, if you're not willing to commit, you probably shouldn't be asking to be on a playtesting team. And you probably shouldn't be asking for their information, for their... it's kind of not fair to those who are playtesting, who are committed. So if you're not willing to commit, maybe this isn't the right video for you. Maybe this isn't the right video series for you. But that doesn't mean that it won't be one day. But you also want to surround yourselves with others who are willing to commit, because you're going to get the best results out of those people. And you're going to improve the fastest because of those people. And that's really important. And then finally, you want to surround yourself with one of two kinds of people to end with. People who are, one, either good at Magic already, or people who are really actively trying to improve. Because you need people to challenge you. And here's a thing that I often see. This is a pretty common thing that I see in the Magic community. There's a pretty good player, and he's like, I want to form a testing team. And he's kind of a jerk. He's not very nice to people. And so what he does is he gets some cronies to be his playtesting partners that honestly aren't very good at Magic. They're not very good. They don't even want to improve. But what he actually wants is he wants to beat up on those guys in playtesting and make himself feel good before a tournament. That is not a playtesting team. I am really happy to have Danny and Michael and Quentin and Alex on my playtesting team. Are there things that I am better at in Magic than those people? Absolutely. Absolutely. I would say I'm the best drafter out of all of those people. Are my mechanics... I think Alex has way better mechanics than me. Michael has way better mechanics than me. Quentin has way better mechanics than me. But I like being challenged and watching and witnessing that. And I like having that around me. Because I wouldn't be as good if I didn't have that. The same thing is actually true of some others on the team, right? Austin and West, when we invited them onto the team, were two guys that were just playing in Oasis, trying to get better at Magic. Week in, week out, they wanted to improve. And you could see it in their eyes when they were playing. You could feel their want to improve through their dedication and through where they were choosing to play Magic and the kind of games that they were trying to play. It's important that you have that. Because you need a range, but you also need to have people that will challenge your ideas. And if you don't have somebody that's good or trying to improve, they have no reason to challenge your ideas. If you surround yourself with players that aren't good, that aren't trying to improve, to boost your ego, you're not going to get better. You're just going to keep beating them, and you won't learn anything. And I actually did that a lot. When early on in Magic, I was okay surrounding myself with worse players that made myself feel better when I beat them in playtesting. And I wasn't getting better faster. So those are the kind of people that I would say that you need to surround yourself with. Leave a comment. Let me know if you have any questions about this topic. Like I said, there's about 7 of these that I want to talk about. The next one is going to be commitment. I want to talk about what real commitment is to getting better at Magic and being on a playtesting team. So thank you everyone for watching. Don't forget to check out patreon.com/ccmtg to become a patron of this show and constructive criticism and limited time only in the entire network. We really appreciate all the subscriptions that we get. If every listener of the podcast and every viewer just donated $1 per month, we could do Magic content full time and it would be really fun. So thank you everybody for watching, and I'll see you guys all next week.